Now, if you'd listen to nightly news and the minorities, you'd think every white person is a racist in the United States, and that it can only be and come from white folks. Racism, however, is in each and every one of us, and each and every day, just as all of the other sins out there, we decide not to be racist. We decide not to say those words that are connected with racism. But even saying innocent words can quite often get you tagged as a racist. I've seen only two in my life that I would have a hard time not saying that they were racist or that they said racist statements. The first one that I ever ran into was down there in Kansas City. It was a Muslim, black Muslim, and his statement was, he said, "There will be peace on earth." Said it to my face. There will be peace on earth when all of the Jews have been killed and all of the whites, man, woman, and child, are dead. When all the whites and all the Jews are dead, there will be peace on earth. It's kind of hard not to look at that statement as a wee bit racist, huh? And the other was right next door up here in the trailer court, at the time a Native American from Mexico. And his statement was, he said, "I'd like to kill every Mexican on earth because of what they had done to his people down there and still do today." And it's, again, awful hard not to want to say the word racist when someone is threatening to kill or to wipe out an entire race of people. Yeah, it's kind of hard not to think the word racist. But there are other times that you hear something, and it's always best, if at all possible, to ask the question. I was taking a break at a restaurant here in McCook, and a booth over, there was two elderly ladies there, and off to the side was an elderly gentleman. It was just, the four of us were in there at that time. The two ladies were talking about a recent movie that had come through the area called The Passion of Christ. Mel Gibson had directed it. And the ladies were concerned because of the violence that they showed against Jesus, the Jews beating on Jesus and finally killing him, that there might be some repercussions, or some people might want to get even with the Jewish race. Off to the side, and he was anything but in the conversation, you could hear him say, though, without question, loud enough for everyone to hear, and he didn't care. He said, "I hate Jews." Whoa. Okay. Their eyes got big. They wondered, uh-oh. And so I looked over at him, and I very seldom have a lack of words, and so I said, "Sir, you hate Jews because they're Jews?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, come over here. I'd like to talk to you about it and hear your side of the story." He picked up his drink and he walked over and sat down. He said that he was a sharecropper before World War II, renting land, if you will, farming it, and he had saved up a pretty good chunk of money, just about enough to buy a farm. But the war came and he was drafted and had to go to Europe and fight over there. As he said it, he said, "I saw a lot of good men die on both sides because of that." And he said the Jews, he said they could have prevented that. And he said, "I hate them because they didn't." He said they should have killed Hitler and his brown shirts at the very beginning, and they didn't do it. And he said, "I'll hate them forever." Because he said, when I got back, after that hell he'd been through in combat, he said all the land prices had skyrocketed. And he said the money that he'd saved up was almost worthless compared to what it would be needed to buy a farm then. So he ended up being a ranch hand for the rest of his life. And he said, I hate the Jews. And I said, well, if it's any consolation, I think the Jews paid a very heavy price for allowing themselves to be abused inch by inch, more and more, until the final solution showed up. And they were almost wiped out. Absolutely. But just because somebody uses the terminology that you think might be racist, if at all possible, just ask. Find out what's behind the statement. before you criticize and abuse and use the word and point the finger and say racist. This is McCook's Mr. Bill. Rate this film.